Okay guys, so you might be here watching this now because you are going to the gym, you're training multiple times a week, and you're not seeing the results or the progression with that training that you're doing that you want to see, or if you're not seeing the results or changes in your body that you want to see from doing that training. So I'm going to talk you through a little technique or a few things to focus on to make sure you make that progression actually happen within those sessions, and to make sure you are making the progress that you want to achieve, and make sure it's happening fast enough for you. So this is in relation to resistance training, so it's like using your weights machines, your dumbbells, your barbells, and I'm making this video because I talk to a lot of people, either in the gym where I work or in my Instagram DMs, or just where I'm chatting to people or people who want to talk to me about training because of what I do. And they're talking to me about how what they're doing on their exercises isn't progressing, or the changes in their body they want to see isn't progressing. And I actually used to not see the progression in my exercises with the weights and in my body myself, because I was doing this, but this is a better framework for making that progression happen. So what we're going to do, we're going to take an exercise, we're going to take your exercise, you do this with all of your exercises, but we'll use one as an example. Let's say it is the leg press, and that's what we're using now. We're using the leg press, and we're going to take a rep range, and that rep range is going to be about the space of 2 reps, okay? So I've written either 6 to 8 or 4 to 6. I'm fond of these kind of like lower rep ranges in the gym when I'm training my clients and with my PT and with myself, because from my experience of my training and training lots of clients over the years, what I've always found with the lower rep ranges, kind of like 4 to 6 or 6 to 8, is that that's less reps, so we can give it a bit more intensity to the exercise, either make it heavier or, you know, put some real speed behind the bar. And because when I've been training people or training myself, and you've got this big, long set of, say, 10 or 12 to get to, or even higher, even 20, I've always found myself and other people always kind of getting a bit sick of the exercise, or tired of the exercise, or feeling that burn from the exercise that kind of makes them want to stop before it's really time to stop when they're doing the exercise, if it's higher rep ranges. Because look, if you want to get a muscle to change, if you want it to get bigger, or if you want it to perform better at what it does, all you really have to do is, it doesn't matter how many reps you do, really, in a lot of scenarios. It doesn't matter if you do 20, doesn't matter if you do 3, but what we really have to do is get it close to its point of failure so that it's got a reason to change and adapt. If we don't get it close enough to that point of failure, if we don't work it hard enough, close enough to its maximum capacity of what it can do, then it's not going to adapt, it's not going to change, and it's not going to get better. So if we're doing, say, 20 reps, and that's the 20 rep set, I quite often see people get tired or sore from the exercise when they're, say, when they've got to 14 reps instead of the 20, so they miss out that room for adaptation because it's hard to get to the end of that set. Whereas when it's a nice low set, you're only doing 6 reps, it's easier to get to that point and know, I'm really, and know that you've kind of like pushed yourself on that set. So that's why I kind of like that 6 to 8 or 4 to 6 rep range. What we're going to do, we've got our rep range, we've got 6 to 8, we've got our exercise, that's the leg press, and what we're going to do is find out the lower end of that rep range, 6 reps, how much weight we can really shift for 6 reps. And then we're going to train that exercise. We're going to train with that weight until we can get to 7 reps. And then we're going to train with that weight until we get to 8 reps. You might be able to do that in the space of a session by working harder through those sets, and that might just be something that you come back to next week. When you do it the following week, you can do more reps. Or it may take you a couple weeks, but what we're going to do is train with 6 until you can get to 7, train with 7 until you can get to 8. Once you can get to 8, then with the same exercise, you're just going to move it back down to doing 6 reps and make it heavier. So what you've done is then progress the exercise through the reps, progressively overloading that exercise by doing more reps, and then you whack more weight on, and then you do less reps, and then you do more reps, and then you whack more weight on, and you do less reps, and you do more reps, and so on. That's the cycle, and then you're always progressing. And that's the key point, because that's maybe what a lot of people do, from myself in the past, and maybe when I've talked to people, what I've seen what is often a thing is someone's going, okay, I'm doing 10 reps, or I'm doing 5 reps, and they're just coming in each week doing that exercise, doing it with that one number of reps and trying to progress it, but they can't move it up by a couple of kilograms or 5 kilograms yet because they don't feel strong enough, and then they're not progressing it because they're not getting that extra strength. So what we have to do is we have that weight, we do extra reps with that weight within our range instead of our rep number that we have, and then when we have increased the reps, we increase the weight and reduce the reps back down to the lower end of the rep range. Okay, now our second point of what we're going to do, what we're going to focus on, what you have to do and focus on whilst you're going through your training sessions is the actual intensity of what you're doing, if you're working at the right intensity, and you're going to do that with either your RIR or your RPE or a bit of both. So your RIR stands for reps in reserve. That means when you've done your set, how many reps you actually have left in the tank after the ones you've just done. And then your RPE is the rate of perceived exertion. That just means how hard, sort of out of 10, you felt that set was. So most of the time, if we're trying to change our body, if we're trying to change a muscle, what we need to be doing is maybe working in a rate of perceived exertion, which is that set was 8 or 9 hard out of 10. And we want to be finishing our set with 1, maybe 2 reps left over in the tank. So if you've got maybe 4 or 5 reps left over in the tank, you know you're not working at a high enough intensity, or you're not doing enough reps. If your RPE is maybe 6 or 7 out of 10, you know you could work harder, and you're not going to be adapting to the training that you're doing unless you're working at that level. At the same time, we might not want to, for most exercises, work with 0 reps in reserve. We might not want to work to 10 out of 10 difficulty for the set, because when it's that hard, when it's that challenging, we might not be exhibiting the best form on the exercise. Your technique might be breaking down, and we don't need to work to complete total muscle failure for an exercise to progress. We just have to get close to your muscle failure or to your technical failure. And finally, how often can you actually progress that? How often can you actually increase the weight? How often can you actually add on another rep? You can do it, like I said earlier, within the session. You can actually start a session knowing that you could do 6 reps with this exercise, because that's what you did last week, and then do 7, and then maybe you can do 8 then. It's all within that one session, then you can just add a bit of weight on and go back to 6. Sometimes maybe it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes you're doing a weight, a number of reps for a few weeks before you can do the next one up, or add on a rep, or add on a kilogram. Sometimes you have a week of training where it's hard, you don't make much progression, but for the most part, you can pretty much increase something, if it's a rep or if it's a kilogram on top of the weight. You can pretty much increase that most sessions that you do most of the time, even if it's just by a little margin. You can always usually increase by something. Because once you've done an exercise for a certain number of reps and at a certain weight, you have then adapted to that set. Your body goes away, you recover, you've adapted, you've done it. Your body's got that capacity in it already, and then when you come to the next one, it can be ready to go up and get to a new level. Usually, when we're not progressing fast enough, it's because we don't realize how often we can actually increase and progress. So we're not adding on an extra rep or an extra kilogram frequently, often, or soon enough. But remember guys, these are little increases. Like I said, it's 1 rep with the same weight, or it's 1 kilogram added to each side of the bar, or 1 kilogram higher on a dumbbell. So they're little increments, and we can pretty much do those, each session that or each time we repeat an exercise across a number of weeks. And then of course, if you're still not making the progress you want to see with your body from the training that you're doing, then of course you need to consider your pre and post workout nutrition. We can't just out train a bad diet. Your pre-workout nutrition, make sure you've got the energy to give enough intensity to your workouts. Your post-workout nutrition ensures that you're adapting or building from your workouts that you've done. So your post-workout and pre-workout nutrition need to be good, otherwise you're not going to get the full development from the workouts that you're doing. Okay, so that was a few things on how to make sure you are progressing with your workouts if you are not progressing quick enough, and I hope that helps someone or a few of you.